Okay, welcome back, everybody, to the Loose and Groovy Baseball Show. I'm your host, Parker. That is Travis. We are super pumped to dive into the postseason aspect of things, as now the divisional series are set to start Saturday. But
Mhm.
there is one more matchup that is finishing up today between the Mets and the Brewers. So we'll get into that later on in this episode. But you'll notice that I'm a little happier than usual because the Tigers just took down Goliath in the Houston Astros. It was the Astros' first time missing the ALCS in 7 years,
Yep.
and for me, the first time seeing the Tigers win a series since 2013. So over
That
10 years,
was
and long time coming.
that was out of all the wild card games, that was the series I watched both the games for. They were both really good games.
Yeah,
Lots of fun to watch those ones, especially the Tigers. Tigers are such a fun team to watch right now, and obviously you got to be a little happy for Parker over there.
yeah.
Just a little
It's
bit.
been
Hey,
paying for a while, so
yeah, and I'm excited to see some home playoff baseball in Detroit. I think that'll be electric.
true.
So looking forward to that as always.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll dive right into it. We're gonna go with this day in history as always. Get into some playoff and end of the year award kind of categories now that we're into October. So this one's a really good one. This is gonna be, I think, the first one I've asked you actually that happened past 2000. So it'll be a little
Okay.
easier on this week.
Yep.
But yeah, so today, as we're recording, it's Thursday, October 3rd. So this one I nabbed from 2012. This player becomes the first player in 45 years to win the Triple Crown. This was also his first of two consecutive AL MVPs.
Miggy.
Yep.
First, I believe the first AL Triple Crown since it was Carl Yastrzemski.
Yeah, it was 1967, I think, was the day or the
Yeah,
year. So that sounds right. I'm not really sure, but
I
yep.
think it was late 60s.
Yeah, that was good. I knew you were gonna get that right away. I would be shocked if you didn't.
Just
I
throwing
was
me
trying
a
to not. Yeah.
lollipop,
Well, yeah.
Well,
I
this year, what's his name? What's his name? Shohei Ohtani. He was flirting with it at the end because I
he
know
was.
Luis. It was like 4 points going into the last game or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and I remember they were talking about it. I was watching Big Inning, and I think it was 4 points. Arise got like a double, and then Otani was like 0 for 3, and
Yeah.
it didn't really end up being that exciting of a race. But it was close at the end, and Otani was almost there, but didn't get it. And then who did? Oh yeah, Judge lost to Witt in the average in the AL, right? For
Yeah,
the
I think that was. I think there was at least like a 10 point, 10 or
It was
12
it,
margin.
it was pretty big. Witt had a really high average this season, so
Yeah,
but we did see two pitching triple crowns, which I think is pretty
that's
cool.
crazy. That
So
yeah,
that
that's
was
awesome.
exciting. Obviously with Chris Sale and Tariq Skubal. Skubal,
Mhm.
how about Skubal in game one? That was fun to watch against
It was
Houston.
it was awesome. He only. I
That
mean,
was
he doesn't. I'm surprised he led the league in strikeouts because I was talking to my brother about this. He only like he's not going to blow you away with the strikeout stuff. Like hardly ever will he have like 10 or 11 Ks like some of these guys. But like
mhm.
every single game he'll have like 6 or 7 consistently. And
I
every time
mean,
he gets in the jam, he seems to be able to get out of it. It's crazy.
I think it probably helps. He pitches probably really late in the most of the game, so even if you're not getting that many, you're just pitching more innings, so you're probably bound to get more strikeouts through that alone.
True.
So I think that is a good point. But yeah, also not he's not like a strikeout first guy, I would say, but
No.
he definitely can tack him up, I think, pretty easily. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was fun to watch him and fun to watch the whole Tigers team, like I said. So I'll throw it over to you now. We got a little bit of trivia. I've heard a little postseason trivia for
Mhm.
it's only fitting now. So let's see what you got.
Okay, so I want you to tell me this might be a little tough. Just give me the top 10, and this isn't purely based off championships, while that is a big factor in like accumulating these stats, but the top 10 teams since 2010 in postseason wins.
Oh, that's a
Top
good one.
five, top 10, just whatever you want to just throw some teams out there, and I'll let you know how you're doing.
Okay, since 2010, so it's like
Yes. So the past like 14 seasons, 13 seasons.
so I don't know how much about the Astros before this insane kind of dynasty-ish run, if you want to call it, but obviously they've had a fantastic past 8 or so years. So I'll put them. They have to be somewhere on the top 10, I would assume.
So they're number one. They have
Okay.
10. They have nine more than the second place team. They have 62 wins since 2010 in the postseason.
Wow.
Like what?
Okay. Mm, I feel like the Yankees. I'm gonna say the Yankees, and that's probably just a educated guess because I feel like the Yankees are usually in the playoffs.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's another good guess. So number 6 with 31 wins. So half the Astros, and they're number 6.
jeez. Okay, Yankees, and then there could be a lot of. I want to say. I think I'm gonna go Cardinals here. They've had some good stretches and some good
Mhm.
teams in that time.
Yep, good guess. Number 4 with 36 wins.
6. Okay. The Houston one is insane. How much they've
I know
won.
it's mind blowing.
Okay, and then I'll go. Let's go. Yeah, let's go Dodgers for sure. Dodgers have to be on this.
Yep, knocking them off. That's number 2 with 53 wins.
53. Okay, oh wow, so it's definitely a huge gap. Dodgers.
Now there's
mm,
a even bigger gap between 2 and 3.
Okay. Dodgers. Padres. Anybody? I would be dang to say anybody in the NL Central other than the Cardinals. Because like the Cubs had a decent stretch around 2015, 2016, but I feel like that was their only really
That's a
year,
good.
right?
That is a good prediction. There's no other NL Central teams. The
Okay.
Cubs are just outside. They're number 12.
Ooh, how about the Giants? Giants have to be in there.
Yes, sir. So number 3, the Giants. So it goes 62 Astros, 53 Dodgers, and then 38 Giants. So that's the gap between 1, 2, and 3.
Wow.
So you knocked off the top 4. You
Okay.
knocked out the top 4 and then number 6. So you're doing pretty good. Let's keep it rolling.
Yep. Um. Ooh, this could be a. Okay. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say Phillies. I think Phillies should be on here.
Another top 10 team. So number 9 with
9.
26.
And then I'll stay in the NL East. Are the Braves they've been there for a while now,
Okay,
right?
I see you. 26 wins. So
Okay.
they're number 8. So now
Okay,
you're
so I have
missing number
yeah, 1, 2,
5, number
4.
7, and number 10.
Okay. Anybody else from the NL East? Oh, okay. So the Mets were in it in 2015 with the Royals, but were they good any other years to kind of get there? Hold on, I'm gonna try and think through
I'm
some
gonna
of these
wait
other
if you
ones.
want to lock it in or not. I'm not gonna say anything yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna circle back on the Mets because I feel like I got the two big ones in the East. I don't think the Mets are gonna be good enough
It's
to
a
make
good
it
call.
further.
I'll just say good call.
Okay. Um, Padres another one I'm thinking about, but they're another one I'm kind of on the fence with. Don't say anything. I'm just thinking.
All right.
I'm missing a big one. Boston has got to be 5, right?
Boston's number 7. So another top
7.
10 team with 29. So number 5 and then number 10 you're missing.
5 and 10.
And these aren't like insane. Like you're not gonna have to dig too far to have these. I'm not gonna give you a hint yet since you've been knocking them all off, but
Yeah. There's so many. The 10th is going to be tricky. I feel like 5, I might be missing a big one here. I feel like there's so many on the fence where it's like it could be either one of them or like the Rays and the Blue Jays are confusing to me, and same with the Mets.
mhm.
Um, I need I need a list of teams to make sure I'm not missing anything because otherwise I'm gonna yeah. Um, I'm gonna. How about? Oh, okay. How about the Nats for 5?
No Nationals.
No,
Nope.
no. Okay,
They're number 13.
13.
They had a good run, but and I guess
Yeah,
the Bryce Harper era too, they had a couple good
right. I
season
I think I'm
rookies.
thinking 2019, and then maybe they had a couple nice runs earlier than
Yeah.
that. Um, I could go back and forth on so many of these. I think
I'm just gonna direct you to they're both American League, so
both
that's my
American. Okay, so could be Rays, could be Toronto, could be the Twins even. I mean, even Texas too. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go. Let's go, dude. Let's go Toronto. Let's go Toronto.
so Toronto, they are not.
No. Okay.
They're towards the bottom. They're number 20 because well, I guess we have baked in our minds the Jose Bautista and like the Troy Tulowitzki
You're probably
Encarnacion.
right. Yeah,
We have that like kind of cemented into the back of our memories, but
that's a fair
every
point.
time they get to the playoffs, they kind of choke. So while they make the playoffs, they don't really do much.
Well, let's go Tampa then. Tampa's probably the other one. They, right?
They're 11. They're just outside the top 10.
Dang.
Think about both these teams have a championship since 2010.
So I haven't said the Royals yet. Is it the Royals?
So Royals are number 10.
Okay.
They went in 2014 and 2015. They lost in 14. They won in 15. So they
Who'd they
kind of
lose?
just stacked up wins there. They
Who'd
lost
they lose?
to
Yeah.
the Giants in 2014, and then in 15 they beat the Mets.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
then recent World Series and
Dude, this is like a kind of a big one. I mean,
oh well. So is it Texas then or no?
it's Texas. My hint was gonna be David Freese,
Okay.
but that would have
Yeah.
been a dead
I
giveaway.
I kept thinking Texas. I either thought of the Cardinals loss in whatever year that was, and then they won last year, but I didn't know much in between those, so I was kind
Yeah.
of on the fence there. But
Yeah. Well, yeah, they were one strike away from winning.
oh yeah, right.
Dude, that would haunt me. I'd almost not even want to make it at that point. Like that's gotta feel so bad.
Every time I watch that clip, or if it's in like a compilation or something, I always feel bad for that pitcher and everybody else on the
Yeah,
Texas, like just the one strike, and it's all it was. It's crazy to think
it is.
about. That
It
was a
is
good list
absolutely.
though. So
Yeah, yeah.
okay, run through the teams one more time. I want to hear all of them.
Well, just a quick review, a little report card for you. You got number one, number two, number three, number four. You missed number five, and then you got number six, number seven, number eight, number nine, and then you missed 10. So you got just a little 80% of the past 10
We'll
years.
take it. We'll take it. I'm
So
happy with that.
a quick run through: Astros 1, Dodgers 2, Giants 3, Cardinals 4, Rangers 5, Yankees 6, Red Sox 7, Braves 8, Phillies 9, and Kansas City 10. So now we are going to start to dive into the American League Divisional Series, previewing just the matchups and kind of we're just going to go through each of the teams in each of these matchups and kind of look at their lineups, their offense, and then just look at their pitching, whether it's the rotation or the bullpen. And I'll do the American League side. Travis will do National League, and we can kind of just chime in with whatever's needed. But yeah, just give our predictions. So I'm going to start with the Kansas City and then the Yankees matchup. Just looking at the lineups, we've said this a lot, especially with the Yankees. Both of these teams are very, very top heavy in their lineups. Kansas City's top heavy in the sense that it's Bobby Witt and then Salvi and Pascantino. Having Pascantino back has been massive for Kansas
Mhm.
City. I know how bad they were doing without him. So they're top heavy there. And after those three, I can't see how you can rely on anybody else for any offensive production. And then for the Yankees, they're kind of the similar. They're not as bad. I guess their top two are like insane, like two of the five probably best hitters in the league, and Soto and Judge. And then it kind of gets Wells is a good hitter, Chisholm, Stanton, but they can all go through their cold stretches. But I would say they also lack a little bit of offensive depth. Overall, I would lean more Yankees. I mean, I feel like you can't go wrong with Soto and Judge back to back in the lineup like that. That's going to give any pitching, no matter how good you are, some trouble. So, offensive side, I'm going Yankees. And now looking at the pitching side of things, to see where Kansas City started and what I like, my perception on their pitching before this year, to see where they've come from then, it's crazy. They started out like last year, they had one of the worst ERAs in the league. This year, they go out and get Seth Lugo. They traded for Cole Reagans. I believe that was the Aroldis Chapman deal with the Rangers last year. And then Brady Singers, he's taken a step up, and then they trade for Waka. Those guys have all been phenomenal this year, especially Lugo and Reagans. They're going to finish top 10 in the Cy Young, both of them. So I absolutely love the rotation. I love the move they made at the deadline for Ursig and then for Hunter Harvey. I know Harvey's been kind of rough, but those are two high leverage bullpen arms. The Yankees side of things, I'm not as high. I do like Cole, but he is I still consider him coming off an injury, even though he came back a while ago. And Luis Heel, he is a rookie. That kind of scares me. And then Schmidt also came off injury recently. So their rotation, I'm not as high on, and their bullpen, I'm also not as high on. I know they got Luke Weaver, who's good, and then Holmes he's blown so many saves. I know his ERA isn't that far in the dumps, but overall, pitching wise, I'm gonna have to lean Kansas City. Now, kind of looking at it from a wider scope, I think I'm gonna have to go with the Yankees, and I would say they kind of even out on the offense and pitching side of things, with the Yankees being better offensively and the Royals being better pitching on the pitching side. But I think the home field advantage at the Yankee Stadium is going to be absolutely massive. 3 out of 5 games in Yankee Stadium, if they do go to the five, I think that's huge. And I think the energy that the fans are going to provide is going to be a lot, especially going up against a young team that can kind of get rattled in Kansas City. So, what do you think about this, Trav?
So I didn't watch much of the Royals Orioles series, but looking at this, I think it was 1-0 in the first game and then 2-1 in the second game, I
Yes.
think.
Yeah.
And so looking at that, you touched on it. The Royals pitching is tremendous. I
Yeah.
mean, I know the Orioles were kind of struggling heading into the postseason. They had a good last little bit of a stretch, but they were not good in this kind of second half of the year. They were one of the hotter teams at the start, and then they really kind of slowed down. And you definitely saw that in the postseason. But being able to shut down guys like Gunnar and Santander, that whole Orioles offense was extremely impressive to me. Another thing with the Royals is I haven't looked at the stats specifically, but I know that they are one of the best teams when they play at home. And the fact that they went into Baltimore and still swept them 2-0 impresses me a
Yeah.
lot. So the way I'm seeing this is your first 2 games are New York. I think if you split those 2 games, you go
Yeah.
back to Kansas City. I think the Royals win the series in KC.
Okay.
I I would get I think you might see the Yankees top heaviness, like you were saying, come out when they go to Kansas City.
Yeah.
I I get worried, and I think Judge's postseason numbers. I don't know if you want to look them up, but they're not great. I believe is what I've heard. And I'm not gonna be one to hang my hat on that and say, oh, he's not gonna do good because he's still Aaron Judge, and I think over a couple of games he could definitely have an impact. Soto is obviously still there. The talent is
Mhm.
there for the Yankees, but when you combine the fact with the really good pitching, the better rotation and the better bullpen, I think that is more important in the postseason to the point where the Royals will know how to score runs. I think they can score runs, and then when you're at home too, where they've been miles better hitting and as a team overall, I think I would lean more towards the Royals to kind of make this upset. I guess you could call it an upset and move on. I think they have the advantage here. I think, like you said, New York it will be a great place for home field advantage, but it's only 2 games there. And then they got to go play in Kansas City,
True.
which I think will be a very big task for them. Um, if there is a game 5 and they go back to New York, it could look a little different. Also, who's pitching that game, and
Yeah.
that'll be pretty late into the series. But I think I would lean Kansas City more than New York.
Does
And
it?
you could also make the point about like postseason pedigree, and the Yankees are probably the more experienced team here. But you could have made the same point about the Tigers and the Astros, and look at where
True.
we are now. So I don't know. I think I would go Kansas City, but
I'll ask one thing before I move on to the next matchup. Does it not scare you that the Kansas City only scored 1 run and then 2 runs?
um, it was Corbin in game 1, and then who'd they face game 2?
Eflin. So
Okay,
two good starting pitchers, but I mean
I
that's
think
still a little alarming to me.
yes, I agree with you there, but I think you go back to it was in Baltimore. Kansas City is not good away, and then I don't know. They're a young team too, so it could have been
Yeah.
nerves. Not a lot of guys have a lot of games in the postseason. I think I take it as a lens. It's more impressive that they scored that little runs and still won the game,
Yeah.
like won both of those games. But you could also look at it that way, like, hey, Yankees might put up a few on you, and how are you going to respond? So
That's
yeah,
true.
that's a good point.
Yep. So now moving into the series that we've all been waiting for. The series that's gonna bring the entire market of baseball.
Oh my
The
gosh.
Cleveland Guardians, who are the 2 seed, versus the Tigers, who are the 6 seed. Just taking a look at the lineups, both of these lineups, if you look at the numbers, they're so and so. Looking at the Tigers, they have a couple of great hitters in Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter. And then after that, it's really just matchups, platoon matchups. If you guys saw the wild card game, Ibanez, the righty, came in to face the lefty Hader, specifically because Ibanez, he only hits lefties. He does not hit righties at all. And he had a bases clearing triple. So that's really all the Tigers do, is just they rely on their really good guys at the top. Even Kerry Carpenter is a platoon. Like, he won't hit much against lefties. It's all just matchups, like who's pitching, stacking your lineup against a righty, and then having like 4 lefties on the bench that are ready to come in case they change pitchers. But that's been going great, and there's been a lot of timely hitting. It's a lot of just manufacturing runs. They're not going to blow you away with power. And then looking at the other side of things, the Guardians, they have 3 great hitters in Quan, who's a great contact hitter and a great on base guy. He'll just get on base. And then Josh Naylor, who's a power guy. Not a high average, but his power's there and his OPS is there. And then Jose Ramirez, who's we've talked about this before, one of the most, if not the most underrated player in the MLB. So those 3, that's a great 3 to have in the postseason. And then after that, it's a little, the depth kind of lacks there. They play a little bit of the matchup game that the Tigers do, with like David Fry. He'll come in against lefties, but overall, I'm I'm gonna try not to be biased, but I do think the Tigers have the better lineup right now, just based off of how much timely hitting and how they're hitting with runners in scoring position, and then just how the matchups have been working out lately. Um, Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green have been hot. I know they didn't do much in the wild card series, but to end the season they were doing great. So I do have to lean towards them on the offense side of things. Now on the pitching side of things, I think these 2 teams are the closest it comes on the pitching side as it gets. In terms of starting pitching for the Tigers, you look at Tarek Skubal, and then after that, it's just a lot of question marks. I mean, Reese Olson, he was injured. He came back. You don't really know what you're getting from him. Hatter Montero, he's had some rough starts recently. So it's Skubal, and then it's like AJ Hinch said, it's just pitching chaos from there on out. And it's not really a problem. They've been doing great on that side of things, and I'll go back to the Guardians side and see how they're similar. So they have Bybee as their good starter. I'd say he's an ace. He got, I think, second in Rookie of the Year last year. But anyways, he's great. And then after that, it's again a lot of question marks with Gavin Williams, Lively. I know he's decent this year, but I'm still not sure how confident they are with him in the postseason. And then both of these teams have great bullpens. The Tigers bullpen has been, I believe, the best bullpen in the second half, and then the Guardians bullpen has just been lights out the entire year. Class A has had just a historical season. Overall, their bullpen has been historic. I was looking at the top or the lowest bullpen ERAs in the league by team. The Guardians are almost 1 run less than the second place team. And I think bullpen is so big in the postseason. And the fact that you get so many off days and you can throw Class A out there for probably every single game, as long as he just goes 1 inning and doesn't pitch more than like 20 pitches. So the pitching side of things, even though Skubal is as good as Skubal is, and they will be facing him twice, just based off of how good Cleveland's bullpen is, I'm going to have to side with Cleveland on the pitching side of things. I don't really think this is going to be a very high scoring series at all. I'd be surprised if a team scores more than like 6 runs in any of these games. But overall, I do think I have to go with the Tigers because of just how hot they've been. And I'm gonna say this. I didn't say this in the Kansas City Yankees series, so maybe this is a little bit of bias, but there is some rust when you have the first round bye. Like, the Tigers have been playing like baseball these past whatever since the season
Yeah.
started, and then Cleveland just had a bunch of days off. So while that gets everybody healthy, I don't know what their injury situation is looking like, but that is a big factor in this. So I do think I have to go with the Tigers.
It is so hard for me because I
You can
think.
say Cleveland. Say Cleveland, I'll be fine. I actually.
Well, I was trying to think about because I didn't like make a prediction for Wild or anything. And I was trying to think about, well, who would I have picked? Would I have picked Houston or Detroit? I think I would have picked Detroit. Here, I don't know though. So if I did learn anything though from this wild card series is I think when it comes to knowing your team and how you want your team to play, I think
Mhm.
AJ Hinch has probably got the best grasp on that for any manager for their team. Seeing him, I think they paced out that game exactly how they wanted it to go, and they were able to play it how they wanted them to play it, and it worked out for them. They won 2 games, obviously. Even when you throw out Job and he kind of doesn't do great, you have the rest of the team pick him up and give him 4 runs in the top half of the inning. Like that was cool to see, and I think everybody's rallying behind AJ. The clubhouse loves him. You can tell he loves them. What they have in that organization, the clubhouse, whatever you want to say, is pretty remarkable. I think you hit a lot of the good points. Um, it's interesting. The thing that concerns me with the way the Tigers are doing it is I think that works for a best of 3 series. When you go to a best of 5, that's where I get a little worried. Where it's like, okay, you can't just throw everybody out there all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Reese could start a game. I think that's definitely possible.
Yeah, for
But then
sure.
you go game 3 and 4, and it gets a little bit dicey for me. That's where I start to get nervous, where you can't just, churn out these guys off the bullpen and kind of always
Yeah.
shake it up. I definitely think that plays more to their advantage in a shorter series like the wild card. DS, it could work. I think I could see a possibility where they figure it out, and they'll have a plan. I know. Um, it is the Guardians starting pitching that worries me a bit. I think, and you kind of hit on that also.
Mhm.
But that bullpen is incredible, and like I think I agree with you. It'll be low scoring games. It'll be tough to get past any of these arms. To be honest with you, it's hard to say because I feel like the pitching and the bullpen both kind of are similar to me, and both kind of what they do.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the lineup, the Guardians have those guys, right? Those
Yeah,
impact
for sure.
guys. And I'm not discrediting what Detroit is doing and like that kind of team effort where everybody's chipping in,
Mhm.
but Guardians have some playmakers on their side, and that I think is what makes the difference in these kinds of series. J Ram has been in any kind of postseason environment you could throw him in, and we talked about his consistency. He'll be there. He'll be performing. Stephen Kwan, you touched on like I would give the edge to the Guardians. I think also Cleveland baseball in the playoffs is one of the more underrated environments. I guess you could
Yeah,
say they
for
love their
sure.
baseball there. And Detroit also, you could probably make an argument that Detroit has a better atmosphere. Like this will be some exciting games to watch with some great atmospheres. It'll be
Mhm.
electric baseball for sure. Good rivalry too in AL Central. It'll be a great series. I could easily see this going to Game 5. I think it'll be so close. But when you have Class A too, and it's like,
It's
okay,
yeah,
if you get to the ninth inning and you have the lead, you're gonna win. Like that, that's crazy. That is huge to have. So I would say Guardians. I'm not counting the Tigers out at all though. They'll definitely make it interesting. And I bet nobody wants to play them right now. They don't care really, and that's kind of
yeah.
the scariest team at some point. So yeah, I think I would go Guardians. But oh
Hey,
wait, okay, wait. So something I did want to do now. So just really quickly. So like I said, Royals and Guardians. You said Tigers, Yankees. Who do you think wins the ALCS based on like what we said?
oh boy.
Just really quickly, first thing comes to mind. It doesn't have to be much. Just whatever you
Between
might
the
think.
ones that the 2 that I
Yeah.
said.
So you said Yankees, Tigers. Who do you think goes to the World Series off of that?
Yeah, this hurts me, but I think I gotta go with the Yankees, honestly. Dude, that the duo of Soto and Judge absolutely terrifies me, and I know Stanton, he's been in the playoffs before, and he's a veteran. Yeah, and Garrett Cole, and I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna see how the divisional series goes. That my opinion might change, but just off
Yeah.
my gut, I'm gonna say the Yankees. Um, yeah.
I would say between Royals Guardians, I would say Royals. I think that pitching staff and the
Okay.
rotation and the bullpen is going to carry them into the World
Wow.
Series. So yeah. Okay, well then when we do the NL, we'll do the same thing and then we'll pick like a World Series kind of prediction just for where we're at right now. It'll probably
Okay.
change, but just as like a fun thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so swinging over to the NL side of things, one of the series that I bet every baseball fan is probably most excited for. We have the Dodgers and the Padres out west. This will
Mhm.
be a fantastic series. Always fun when these two meet. Lots of energy, lots at stake. So yeah, we're just gonna dive right into it. Now, I know what you were talking about with like the bye week and teams not being maybe fully healthy, but the division series break has kind of, I think, helped the Dodgers quite a bit. So we did find out Kershaw will not be pitching in the DS. He's still recovering,
Okay.
but Freddie Freeman and Miguel Vargas are both going to be playing in Game One. So they were kind of on the fence too, but they will both be healthy. Freeman was dealing with like an ankle injury, and then I'm not sure what Rojas had, but he will be there as well. So, kind of looking at the rotation, I'm not sure what order they're going to go with these guys in, but it'll be most likely Yamamoto, Flaherty, Bueller, and then Landon Knack. That's kind of what you're looking like. And then this bullpen is going to match up with just about any other one. Looking at Michael Kopech, Evan Phillips, Brake
Mhm.
Chinen, Alec Vesia, Daniel Hudson. These guys are just studs. And it is a pattern you're seeing with all these teams we talked about. It's bullpen. Bullpen has really been a key here. All of these teams, and even the teams left in the NL, it's their bullpen that's really bringing them this far. I think at least. And then you can make an argument that these two teams have the most star power in the league. Just highlighting some of the Dodgers. I mean, we know the team. You got Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Otani, Betts, getting Edman, and he's been turning up since the second half. They really do have what you need to win a World Series, I believe. It really comes down to putting it together for the Dodgers, which is something they've been struggling to do as of late. And then another thing I kind of want to touch on is bench guys and kind of like going into more depth related stuff, like who's got the best depth. Whoa, I don't know if I'm saying that. Depth. Yeah, I think like this. I think it is a very underlooked aspect of these kinds of series. So I kind of threw in Chris Taylor as like a second baseman. I'm not sure who they'll throw out there. It might depend on who they're facing pitching, but Austin Barnes, Gavin Lux, Kike Hernandez, Andy Pajes, and James Outman are who they got on reserve. That could be platoon, defensive sub, anything like that. So just kind of something interesting to take in note. And then heading over to the Padres, you could also make a case for this being, I think, star-studded and most talented teams, to be honest with you. The rotation is scary. We saw what Michael King did to the Braves on Tuesday. That was incredible. 7 innings, 12 strikeouts. I think only one run. Filthy stuff coming from King. Then you also have Dylan Cease, Joe Musgrove, and Yu Darvish. And then it gets even scarier heading into the bullpen. You got Robert Suarez as a solid closer. Tanner Scott, who they got from the Marlins. Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, Yuki Matsui, Adrian Morin. They've got some guys there too. And then the lineup also, I mean, it gets better for the Padres. Kylie Gashioka has had 2 home runs in the wild card. Good to see him, maybe ride something hot heading into this series. He's looked great. Um, Arias, we're not sure where he's going to play. He could play DH or first. We'll probably stick him over at first. Cronenworth's at second. Bogart's at short. Machado at third. And then your outfield is Profar, Merrill, and Tatis, which doesn't get much better than that either. And then Donovan Solano, another guy, very underrated year from him. He is going to be the DH most likely. And then coming in off the bench, it's Elias Diaz, Nick Ahmed, Tyler Wade, Brandon Lockridge, and David Peralta. Peralta also a guy to take note of. Had a very good year as well. So I like the Padres a lot because they got this mix of like, okay, guys you know are going to be studs. They're going to hit. But then there's also these guys not everybody's going to know about, but they're going to hit too. And they've, I think, been a top 3, top 2 team in the second half. I know you sent me their record one time since the All-Star break. It's nuts. They have been
Yeah.
playing some of the best baseball we've seen in the second half in a long time. And it is great to see kind of a good Padres team that is healthy also. Good to see Tatis back in baseball always. And I don't know, watching some of those Padres games in San Diego, the fans were there. They were electric. Obviously, they're running into a different Dodgers beast now with Shohei Otani, so you have to take that into account. First postseason, plate appearance for Otani. We'll see what he does in the postseason. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm gonna go Padres. I think it's gonna be the Padres. I think when you look at it top to bottom, they have the better team, And I think I'm just going to leave it at that. I like the Padres a lot. They would worry me more than the Dodgers, but curious to see what you think on this one.
I think this Padres team, and I guess you can go back and look at the World Series champs that have won it that were a wild card team. Like I believe the Rangers, weren't they a wild card team last year?
Yes, they were.
So the Rangers, like the Nationals, I genuinely think this Padres team is the best wild card team in the past probably like 20 years. Like this team is so good. I agree. I think the Padres are going to win it. And I really, while it'll probably go to game 6 or game 7, I don't think it's that close. Like the rotation, and Musgrove did you see he went down with elbow tightness?
Oh, I did not see that. Was
Yeah,
that
Joe
late
Musgrove,
here?
he got pulled from their last game in like the 4th inning with elbow tightness. That hurts,
Mm,
but they got Michael King, who is like stellar now. He had 12 Ks, like 7 or 8
yeah,
scoreless
he was
in the
disgusting.
wild card game. Dylan Cease, who I think he's still phenomenal. I think he could be an ace on most other teams. And then they got Yu Darvish, who is just a veteran that has been here so much. And then their bullpen is the best in the National League, in my opinion. I don't think they're too far away from the Guardians bullpen with Robert Suarez, Tanner Scott, Jason Adam, Estrada. The list goes on. Matsui, Wandy Peralta, like they got righties and lefties. It's a nightmare if you're like it's you'll go against Michael King, you'll get shut out for 7 innings, 12 Ks, and you think you have a breather? No. You're facing their bullpen who is absolutely stellar. Now on the hitting side of things, I think it's a lot closer. If anything, I might give the Dodgers a little edge, sheerly based off of the fact that, like you said, Freeman, Otani, Betts, like Will Smith, like those guys are all like the like top 3 in their position. So you can't overlook that. But I think that the pitching situation for the Dodgers, it's a little scary to me. Like Jack Flaherty hasn't been in the postseason much. Yamamoto, this is his first year in the majors. Bueller has been horrible since he came back. Landon Knox only thrown 69 innings. Kershaw, he's been
He's not
injured.
playing. Kershaw will
He's
not
not
be playing.
at all in the divisional.
No, yeah, they ruled him out for the divisional series, so he won't be going.
That might be a good thing for Dodgers fans. We know how
That is a good point.
Kershaw. But anyways, just to keep it short, I'll say I think the Padres have a pretty good margin better than the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's so hard to say with, 3 MVPs, former MVPs on the other side, like
Yeah,
going up against. Like that's crazy. Even crazy to think about picking the Padres, but
for
ride
sure.
the hot hand, baby. Come on. San
And
Diego.
dude, Glass now that having him out
Mm,
hurts so much. If
yeah,
Glass now was in, this might change my whole it because he could go game 1 and game 5 because he'd be their one. Like that hurts bad.
and Yamamoto is even also coming off of a recent injury. He hasn't. I mean, I don't think he's come back to the full form. He was out
No,
for a
for
good chunk
sure.
of this year, so that's another one to keep in mind. Of
Yeah.
just kind of might be shaky a little bit. So we'll see. That'll be a really fun series either way. There are lots of star power. I'm sure everybody will be tuning into that one. But all right, so now over on the other side, this one is still undecided as of we're recording. The Mets and the Brewers are still split right now, so they will decide Game 3 tonight at around and in about an hour actually. So that's exciting. But yeah, so it'll be the Phillies. That's going to be the team they're going up against. So I'm going to run through them and then I'll touch a bit on the Mets and the Brewers and we'll kind of see what we're looking at. So
Mhm.
when I when I pulled up the Phillies team and just started listing off some of like the names, the Phillies this could be their year. I think they have one of the best windows right now, and I think they've made the right moves here, and I think this should be it. I hope so. The rotation, it's Zach Wheeler, arguably one of the better postseason pitchers that we've seen in recent years. Austin Nola, Christopher Sanchez, Robert Suarez, and then Tayshaun Walker is also listed. I hope he doesn't start in a game. That would just suck, honestly, because he's bad. But that front four, you could argue that's the best front four in baseball in the postseason baseball right now.
Yeah.
Then you jump to the bullpen. I also think you can make an argument that this is the best bullpen. Carlos Estevez, who came over from the Angels, stud. Jeff Hoffman, another underrated year from him. I think his ERA is below 2. Matt
Yeah.
Strom, Alvarado, they've been here before. Orion Kerkering, good. Tanner Bakes came over from Chicago. He's been good. It is just top to bottom. You could throw anybody out here and they've been okay, at least. And then you get to the lineup and we've seen these guys play in Philly. It's a lot of the same names we're used to. Real Muto, Harper, Stott, Turner, Alec Boehm, Brandon Marsh. You got Rojas on center, Castellanos, and then Schwarber. You could almost say it's a very similar lineup to what we saw last year. But coming off the bench, I think is kind of what it impresses me a little bit more too. So Austin Hayes could be a bit of a platoon here. That was kind of a sneaky move they made at the deadline. I know it was a player-player trade, so it did get a lot of attention, but I feel like I haven't heard much from Hayes here since he's made it over to Philly. But I think that was a bit of an underrated snag by Philly there, and I think you could see him come in and maybe have a huge hit here in one of these games and for the rest of the postseason. And then you got Edmundo Sosa, Weston Wilson, Cody Clemens, and Garrett Stubbs. Stubbs is the backup catcher, and then just some other utility pieces here on their bench. So it is really tough. I think if the Mets win, I don't think the Mets have a chance against Phillies. I think the Mets are going to run out of gas here eventually. So if it's the Mets, I'm going to give the edge to the Phillies 100%. Brewers, I think, make it a little bit interesting. But after watching these two games in the Mets series, I still think it'll be the Phillies. We saw the Brewers give up 8 runs in game 1 here, and the starting pitching is beginning to worry me a bit more. And I think the bullpen is still really good for the Brewers. We've talked about that this year. They have a lot of good guys there. I don't know. I get worried about the Brewers offense getting shut down by this Phillies rotation and then the Phillies kind of just running up the scoreboard a bit. So I think either way, no matter what, how it goes tonight, I think I'd give my edge to the Phillies. But I don't know. Maybe the Brewers make it a little interesting if they win. I think if the Mets, I could see the Mets getting swept though by the Phillies if they win tonight. I think I have full confidence saying that. I don't think Mets are not built for this deep of a run yet. I don't think so. And then I'll really quickly before I throw it over to you. So I got Padres Phillies in my NLCS, and if I had to pick one, I would say, I'll give it to the Phillies. So Phillies Royals will be my World Series matchup as of today. So you're up.
Okay, so I guess I'll start with a quick thing on the Mets and Milwaukee. I think the Brewers are a better team, honestly. Their offense
The Mets or
than
the
the
Phillies?
Mets. I think the Milwaukee is going to beat the Mets tonight. I guess when this episode comes out, you'll know.
It's Peterson, right, for the Phillies, right? Did we confirm that?
So we were talking about it, and that's what we kind of assumed because he hasn't went in a while. But I looked at the matchup earlier today, and it said Quintana. So that's a big part of it. I'm not really sure on Quintana. I know he's like sub 4, like barely this year, but that's a big part of it. And I forget who's going for. It's Tobias Myers, and he's had a great year this year. So I think
I get worried about him in the postseason. He's had a few rough starts here at the end. We'll see what he does. I don't know, but I think it's a slippery slope on both sides tonight. I think
for sure on the starting pitching side, but on the bullpen side, I think that's going to make the difference because I do think this will be a close game, and really just the fact that Devin Williams is going to come in, there's no doubt in my mind that he'll shut down the Mets like he did yesterday. And then just guys like Contreras and Rhys Hoskins, the younger guys like Ortiz, Turang, the speed they have and how they can manufacture runs is impressive. And Willie Adames hasn't even really started to step up yet, and I think he will soon. So, and I almost forgot Jackson Chourio, 2 home runs yesterday, like absolutely absurd.
Awesome.
So he might put his team on his back and beat them today. But now, so let's just say Milwaukee versus the Phillies. I really don't think how you could ever pick Milwaukee or the Mets if the Mets make it against the Phillies. Yeah. Like you said, you kind of covered it all. The Phillies, their starting rotation is insane. Their bullpen is, like you said, it might be better than San Diego's. I kind of forgot about Phillies bullpen because they've just been so good the whole year. Like you said, Jeff Hoffman, sub 2 ERA, and literally nobody's talking about him. Like that's just how many guys they have. And I mean, how much postseason experience they've had with Real Muto, Bryce Harper, Trey
Yeah,
Turner.
they've been here a lot in the past couple of years, and they want to
Dude,
win one, I'm
they are
sure.
so hungry. I'll bet they are. This team has they've made it so far so many times it seems like, and their fans like go crazy, and their fans get behind them, and they always fall short. So I do think that they're not going to let that happen, or at least in the divisional series, or not. Now looking into the NLDS, dude, this is probably the toughest matchup.
Juggernaut
Yeah, dude. Padres versus Phillies. This is so tough.
It's like such a similar kind of vibe for both these teams, I feel like.
Yeah.
And didn't they play in the NLCS a couple, like 2 years ago now? Was it when the
The
Phillies
Padres and
lost?
Phillies?
It was. I think they played in a CS or it was a DS.
I want to say DS. I'm not 100%, but they definitely had a series
Yeah,
fairly recently. Dude, this is so tough.
it was the NLCS in 22 when the Phillies lost to Houston. They played in the NLCS,
Okay. Hmm.
and that was also when Soto was on the Padres. So yeah,
So I'll say, well, rotations in the postseason are usually three-man rotations. And so I guess that's the point where the Phillies rotation kind of, while it's so good and there's five great guys, two of the guys are gonna get moved to the bullpen, and the bullpen's already really good. So let's say they keep Wheeler. I'm looking at their depth chart right now. I guess Wheeler, Nola, and then what are you taking, Sanchez or Suarez?
I don't know. Suarez has been struggling a bit here down the
Yeah,
stretch. I might give it to Sanchez, but
I think they do too. I agree.
that's a
I
coin
think
flip. I don't know.
yeah. So that kind of takes a hit on the rotation to me a little bit. And the rotation of King, Cease, and Yu Darvish is so good to me. I'm gonna have to go with the Padres, but this is as 50-50 as it can get. So now I guess looking ahead to the World Series, so I picked the Yankees to go to the World Series,
Yankees
my
Padres.
dismay, and then the Padres on the National League side. I'm gonna have to stick with the Padres, dude. I think this team is so good, and I think you mentioned it. They have like the perfect. You might have said this about the Dodgers or another team, but they have the perfect mix to me of veterans. They have a decent amount of veterans, and then they got some young guys like Jackson Merrill, just like some exciting guys that can really turn it up. And like some of these guys just feed off the crowd, and the Padres crowd is maybe the best this year. In the wild card, we haven't seen the Phillies crowd yet, so they could be the same level. But I'm gonna have to go with the Padres.
Yeah, so a couple of things I wanted to add with my Phillies prediction. I'm definitely banking on the fact that these guys get hot because if they don't get hot, that's where the Phillies suck. Like
Yeah,
they can be very bipolar in a way that if your top 4 or 5 guys aren't hitting, the rest of the team is not gonna be following it up. So
yeah,
I get concerned there, but I'm gonna bank on the fact that it's the postseason. It's Red October in Philly, and
yeah.
we're gonna just ride it out. And another thing, Zach Wheeler, I did look up his postseason array. He has a 2.42 over the 2 years with the Phillies for the postseason. Last year, he had a 1.95 in 4 starts, so that is
Wow.
huge. So he'll probably get the ball game one. And then, so for me, I picked Phillies and Royals. And then going off of there, I would definitely give it to the Phillies.
Yeah,
Um, I think this will be the year. This will be the year they bring it to Philly. I think that's definitely reasonable. I think, oh, man, they gotta be so upset over these past couple of years, getting so close so many times. I hope this is the year they finally do it. A lot of guys on there that I'd like to see win it with Philly too.
yeah,
And I think the Royals will just end up a bit short, but considering the whole year, I don't think you'd count that win as this year as a loss. That would be even impressive that they get to the World Series, but they're in
yeah,
the DS, so anything can happen.
yep.
So, as an official prediction, my World Series matchup, Royals Phillies. I have Phillies winning it this year. Parker has got Padres and Yankees, and he's gonna have the Padres taking it all. So, we'll definitely see how it's going to play out. But that's going
Yeah,
to do it for this week. Very exciting. Lots of fun baseball. That's what it's all about. We're going to have a lot of fun games to tune into over the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be really exciting.
For sure.
Drop down your comments below. Let us know what you think about our, predictions, what we think, and also who you think might take it all this year. But yeah, we're going to sign off for the day, and we're going to see you guys next week. It'll be exciting.
Thank you guys.